Welcome back to We Are the Machine, the podcast where art, AI, tech, music, creativity all mashed together, sometimes with questionable makeovers. I'm Chris, your guide through the strange, inspiring, and occasionally terrifying world of algorithms colliding with creativity. Today we're going to get 5 big stories in quick. Meta shaking hands with Midjourney, AI voice dubbing taking over your reels, The Wizard of Oz stepping into the uncanny valley, Adobe giving Premiere Pro another AI glow-up, and Runway eyeing the gaming industry. That's today on We Are the Machine. Alright, our first story deals with Meta partnering with Midjourney. So Instagram is getting a new paintbrush. So the company that owns Facebook, obviously Meta, Instagram, and WhatsApp, they just started a licensing deal with Midjourney. So Midjourney, if you're not familiar, is one of the first image generators. It's the one that made the dreamlike, slightly too perfect pictures everyone was seen posting for a couple years. It's kind of the thing that was at the front of the boom. So now think of this as Photoshop meets a fever dream polished, surreal, and very, very Instagrammable tool. So Meta's basically saying we want our apps to look like that. So the deal lets Meta tap into Midjourney's aesthetic tech, which is corporate speak for we want your vibe. And so, you know, if you're an AI art creator, Midjourney definitely stands on its own in how good it is compared to, say, Gemini. ChatGPT is doing a little bit better, but Gemini is a little bit weak still. But Midjourney really was always leading the pack, and they do have a very distinct feel. And the prompts, from my experience at least, create a lot more complex and interesting images. So it makes sense that Meta's going to want to jump on them. So for artists and creators, you know, there's a catch. You know, the Instagram filters, the ad tools, the creative effects, they're going to start running on the Midjourney DNA. And so suddenly those billions of users are going to be making the same content with the aesthetic baked in. So, you know, it's a great thing if you like the look, but as far as originality, that's a little bit trickier. You know, it's going to be like everyone's buying the same outfit from Zara and calling it personal style. You know, we can make the connection to music where a lot of the same beats, physical sounds, quantization all started to take place. We all started to kind of lose the vibe and go towards the same plugins and what have you. So similar thing, it's just going to start probably flooding Facebook and Instagram a little bit more clearly. So what do you think? Would you embrace the Midjourney aesthetic? Is this a lame move that you think is going to make Facebook and Instagram even worse and more useless? Let me know in the comments. I appreciate that. Our next story is going to deal with another Meta story. It's going to be launching AI dubbing. So one video, global reach. So they're having a busy week. So they also rolled out this AI-powered translation and dubbing for Instagram Reels. So imagine you post a dance, a song, a comedy sketch, or whatever in English. With a couple clicks now, Meta's AI is going to spit out dub versions in whatever language, Spanish, Hindi, Japanese. You can take your pick. So suddenly your one piece of content is playing for audiences you've never reached before. So for creators, it's, you know, a thrilling thing, and it's a little unnerving. On one hand, it's like having an instant passport for your art, finally. There's no need to subtitle everything by hand. And on the other hand, what happens to your voice, your delivery, your timing, your accent? That's part of the creative fingerprint. And also, you know, you might look pretty strange talking in Japanese. So we don't know how all that's going to work, but it's an interesting thing. And if you follow somebody like Gary Vee, he actually talks about this a lot and has been, you know, already jumping into it, apparently. So it also raises the bar. So if your competitors are doing a cooking tutorial, for example, that's going to get 10 million views in Brazil, what happens if you don't dub yours? You know, do you risk becoming a local act as far as instead of a global act? So now it's something that's going to add to the bar. Our third segment is going to deal with a little bit more of an artistic question. It's AI is rewriting quotes, The Wizard of Oz. So this one's a little bit strange. If you guys know the Las Vegas sphere, the kind of the controversial massive LED dome that looks sort of like the Death Star crossed with a disco ball. So they just premiered an AI enhanced version of The Wizard of Oz. So Dorothy, Toto, Ruby Slippers, the whole thing, but algorithmically remastered into a new immersive visual experience. The creators say it's about restoration and spectacle, and critics are saying that it's tampering with the masterpiece. And both sides have a point. You know, for artists, I guess the big takeaway is if AI can remix one of cinema's most sacred cows, who's stopping studios from algorithmically juicing up everything that's classic in their vault? So imagine Casablanca with deeper shadows, or Star Wars with, quote, better stormtroopers. At what point is enhancement, and when does it cross into revisionism? And I think a lot of Star Wars fans would probably have a lot to say to George Lucas about that. But it stands to be seen. So far, it's just a remastering tool, which they've done a lot in the past, but this probably just makes it a little bit easier and more efficient. I don't know how the artifacts look, how much it changes, but there is a lot that can be now done to old films to make them possibly better. Imagine taking old 80s movies that have terrible CGI and sprucing them with AI. That might be a fun thing. I don't know. What do you guys think? If there's no stealing involved, I don't see a problem. Next segment now is about Premiere Pro by Adobe. We talked about some of their upgrades into AI recently. And so this editing software that's, powering half of the internet's video content at this point, just rolled out new updates that are going to weave their AI model Firefly even deeper into the workflow. So we're talking about text-based editing, deleting ahs with a keystroke, generating B-roll with prompts, auto clean, audio, all inside Premiere. So there's a lot of tools that do sort of all of this, but now it's going to be within one of the biggest products that's already, holding a lot of subscriptions. AI is just going to be baked a little bit more into it. So for editors, it might be a double-edged sword. On one side, it's kind of magic. Well, what used to take an assistant editor a full day might now take 10 minutes. And on the other side, does the assistant editor lose their job? Or does learning Premiere now mean learning how to prompt an AI instead of mastering timelines and shortcuts? So you can think of it as editing used to be like playing an instrument. You practiced, you got faster, you developed a style. Now it's more like conducting an orchestra of robots, still creative, but different skills entirely. So I think it's for a while going to be a mesh of them, but I think that we might not necessarily lose those assistants. We might pare them down and they might become more efficient and do different things. Would you like to keep control of every cut yourself, or would you happily offload the grunt work to AI and just focus on story? I'd like to know in the comments. Let me know. We always appreciate that. And our final story is going to be dealing with Runway as it heads for the gaming industry. So Runway is the generative video startup that helps spark kind of the Hollywood AI panic. It was one of the first ones. It was the big one. It's still a powerful one. And now it's setting its sights on the video game industry. So their CEO says that the same tech that makes quick commercials or music videos can also crank out pre-visualizations, cutscenes, even marketing trailers for games. So if you're a gamer, you've seen how expensive those cinematic trailers are, the ones that might look better than the actual game. There was the controversy with the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer. Was it gameplay? Was it not gameplay? So AI studios can now make it with AI cheaper, faster, do more experimenting. But for the artists and animators in the game studio, that's potentially a shakeup. Do studios still hire giant teams for trailers if they can prompt them into existence, or does AI become just another tool, letting small indie teams compete with AAA budgets? So it's another reminder that film, games, and ads aren't separate worlds anymore. They're all kind of converging, and AI is sort of gluing them in a certain way. So what do you guys think? Will AI unlock a golden age of indie game storytelling, or just flood us with some generic cut and paste trailers? Personally, I think we're going to get some cool stuff. I think that the bigger studios are not going to be able to cheapen out because they're going to have to stay ahead of the people that have the same tools as them. So it's going to push them hopefully further past some of the cheaper things. And I don't think they're going to hopefully focus on just cost cutting, because there's plenty of companies ready to do something a lot cooler for a few extra bucks if the return is there. So that's it for this week's tour through the AI creative blender. From Dorothy's algorithmic makeover to Meta's global dubbing dreams, one thing is clear: art isn't just human anymore, it's co-produced with the machine, if you so choose. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit follow, share it with a friend, leave me a like, please drop me a comment. I would love to discuss a topic that you guys are interested in. I know that some people are very angry on the TikTok channel there. The most heated debates are about these AI topics. So please let me know what you'd like to cover, and we will do that for you. So until next time, I'm Chris. This is We Are the Machine, and we will see you again next time.
Sending my love, sending my heart to you. Send it on back. It's all just my plot to you. see now.